All right, we're here. Welcome to episode 27 of Versus Mike History. I'm your host, Michael History. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you choose to listen. And if we are on your preferred platform, let us know and we'll do our best to change that. For any further information regarding the podcast, go to versusmikehistory.com.
To be young, gifted, and black, we all know what it's like to be told that there is not a place for you to be featured, yet you are young, gifted, and black. We know what it's like to be told to say there's not a screen for you to be featured on, a stage for you to be featured on. We know what it's like to be the tail and not the head. We know what it's like to be beneath and not above. And that is what we went to work with every day, because we knew not that we would be around during award season or that it would make $1 billion, but we knew that we had something special that we wanted to give the world, that we could be full human beings in the roles that we were playing, that we could create a world that exemplified a world that we wanted to see. We knew that we had something that we wanted to give, and to come to work with every day and to solve problems with this group of people every day with this director. That is something that I wish all actors would get the opportunity to experience. If you get to experience that, you will be a fulfilled artist.
Living out my dream, my life is different. If I want it, then I'ma get it.
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Living every
Mic
day
check 1
like
2 1
it's
2.
Christmas. Cause I'm gifted, and I know I'm a gifted.
Let's go.
I'm gifted.
We doing it for Chadwick Boseman.
I know I'm a gifted.
Rest in peace.
I got a whole lot of people that's been counting on me. Got this bad little shawty going down on the dick. I met shorty and we connected like the Wi-Fi. Hopped in the Phantom, disappeared like wildlife. I told niggas that I would make it, they say no way. Watch them niggas that might eat up off of your plate. They caught me sliding on the E-way with the heat on the seat. I got tennis chains with crosses, but I still keep a piece. See, I was 12 years with a Tommy fit, 15 cracking Bobby bitch. I was 17 years on this earth when I popped the perk when my body itch. Need a pound of blow when I'm drowning.
You know what? I was gonna come in here because it's been a little bit of a dark weekend due to everything that's been going on in the news with the passing of Chadwick Boseman and everything, and I was gonna be a little bit somber, but I don't think that's the proper way to bring in this episode. I don't think that's the proper way to celebrate people's lives, by being somber and sad. We can address it and we can mourn, but everybody's way of mourning is different. And I want to mourn by being positive and remembering this legend, this icon, as the king that he was. So obviously I want to begin this episode by saying rest in power to Chadwick Boseman, our black king. He passed away at 43 years old due to colon cancer. And it's just important that we as black men, we check our health and we be as safe as possible when going through these times, because, you know, it's up on us, and, you know, it's a stigma in our neighborhood, and it's something that we need to get out of. And I feel like it's needs to be addressed. So I'm going to be the one to address it. But rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman. Illustrious career, man. Like, from his time at Howard to his acting classes being paid for by Denzel Washington and Felicia Rashad, to him going to lead roles, to taking on roles such as James Brown, Thurgood Marshall, Jackie Robinson, and then finding out that he had colon cancer, stage 3 colon cancer, around 2016, and then completing Civil War, then doing Black Panther, then doing Infinity War, and then doing Endgame, and then doing 21 Bridges, and then doing The Five Bloods. Man was a hard worker while all of these things were going on and impacting his life. And if we don't remember him as the strong warrior that he was, I feel like we wouldn't be doing him the justice that he deserves. It affects me differently, you know, because we've been losing a lot of our our male champions in this industry. We've lost Andre Harrell this year. We've lost Pop Smoke this year. We've lost many people that are very dire and very important to this culture. We lost Kobe Bryant this year. You know what I mean? Like, this year's taken a heavy toll. But from it, I think that we should take away that we all need to collectively try harder and go harder as a people, and to keep these people's legacies where they deserve to be in the rafters, and to, raise our collective standard and our collective effort as a people, and just be better and be beautiful and acknowledge each other and acknowledge the love that's spreading within our culture. With that being said, good people, what's popping, man? I can't be upset. You know what I mean? It's my birthday weekend. If you're listening to this episode, it is my birthday. So happy birthday to me. I don't have any horns. I don't have any shots to send off, but I'm thankful to be alive as a young black man. I'm healthy. I'm employed, and I'm able to bring this format of media to you guys every week. And for that, I am grateful, and I'm proud of everything that I've accomplished in my life. I feel good. I feel great, honestly. And I'm not going to let all of these dark times get me down and really get me to a point where I feel like my life isn't worth living, or that I should do to put forth the effort that I'm putting. But enough of that. I'm going to get into some stuff that's been going on in a week, because, a lot of stuff has been happening. I think that I want to start with, what do I want to start with? I don't know, man. There's so many things to get to. I think I'll just start with music. So the song you heard in the beginning is the new Cordae featuring Roddy Ricch. It's called Gifted. It's real dope, back and forth by Cordae and Roddy Ricch, and I think that it signifies a cultural shift in terms of the new guard coming in and creating their own their lane and their own class. Because we talk about a class every year in terms of the XXL freshman class and things like that, but we don't really categorize rappers in classes too often. Like the only class, like the two main classes that I know of, at least from growing up, is like the class of like Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, Tupac, that the whole 90s, Snoop Dogg, of course, being in there, DMX. The class before that is like LL Cool J and Run DMC and things like that. And then my generation is like Drake, Kendrick, Big Sean, J. Cole, those types of people. And I think that like Cordae and Roddy Ricch and people like that are really like, they're really forming their class, and they're really like making it known that these are the people who are talented, are just as talented as I, and we're going to make the best music that we possibly can together. And I think that's dope. So you should go ahead and check out the rest of that record. That's Cordae and Roddy Ricch, Gifted. Big Sean and Nip, they dropped, Big Sean, he dropped his first single from Detroit 2, which is dropping this upcoming week. It features Nipsey. It's called Deep Reverence. That verse is fire. We heard it first when Hit Boy was doing his verses with Boy Wonder, I believe it was. And it's a great record. It was a great record then. It's a great record now. And I think that Big Sean floated on it. I think that this time off has been good for him, for his rapping ability, even though Big Sean has always been a dope rapper to me. But this time off seems like it's been doing him real justice in terms of like going as hard as he wants to be, and I'm real proud of that as a fan. So shout out to Sean, rest in peace Nip, and go check out that Deep Reverence record. What else? Jazmine Sullivan, she released a single, which I thought was going to be an album because everybody on Twitter said it was going to be an album, which goes to show that I need to stop listening to what everybody says on Twitter. But yeah, Jazmine Sullivan, she released a single called Lost One. That joint is really dope. She don't miss a beat. It don't matter how often she releases music, to be honest. her voice is impeccable. Like every time she delivers and she does everything that she needs to do when she comes to release music. So shout out to her. That record is called Lost One. Go get that. I saw a couple people saying that, oh, she would be a bigger artist if she released music more consistently, or maybe she's lazy. Da, da, da. First of all, she can release music whenever she pleases. I don't understand why people think that harder work means better work. I think that artists should be allowed to run on their own time and to release projects on their own time. And of course, this doesn't apply across the board, because you have artists like Jay Electronica, who we had to wait 10 years for an album, and we did get this album and it was a great album. So you could say that's even towards my point. But obviously it's just not going across the board. But I honestly do genuinely believe that artists should be allowed to take the time that they need to make their craft as form-fitting as possible to what they believe they need to be putting out at the time. So shout out to all those people. You know what I mean? That's all good music that we've been getting. That's all good music that we got this weekend. And things are slowly opening back up. Music is coming back out. I'm starting to see trailers for movies on TV again. Now, I know that movie theaters aren't opening in every state, but it's still a little shocking, because I've been in the house for 6 months, and for a very long period of time there were just no movie trailers, and that was very odd, because you don't really notice that they're gone until they start coming back. But it is what it is. I think that is it with music. Yes, it is. It sure is. I think that, oh, nope, it isn't. I wanted to talk about nothing too crazy, but I wanted to talk about how No Ceilings is on digital streaming platforms. So No Ceilings was released on digital streaming platforms, but it's missing a lot of key records that make the mixtape. No Ceilings is not a very old, but an old mixtape by Lil Wayne. He's since made another one in that series, but that's a classic mixtape to me, and that's like post Carter 3, which would a lot of people would mark as the time where Lil Wayne truly, I don't want to say lost his mind, but like he started going on decline and not producing as good of music as he was in between that Carter 2 and Carter 3 era. But regardless, it released on digital streaming platforms, and it's missing so many songs that you might as well just go to SoundCloud or go to DatPiff and go stream it there. Shameless plug, no advertising, but yeah, you might as well just go listen to it on the mixtape apps. Like, what's the point of putting it on digital streaming platforms if you can't get it in its full totality? But regardless, it's on there. So if you haven't heard it, then go check it out. Go listen to what you've been missing for all these years. And yeah, now that is a wrap on music. I think that I'll get into the NBA for a little bit before I go into these other two topics. So the NBA, they did a boycott or a strike. I believe that the proper term for what they did is a strike. So the NBA went on a strike sometime in the middle of the week for everyone's Game 5. The Milwaukee Bucks were supposed to show up for their Game 5, and they didn't show up, which led to the Magic leaving the court, and every other team basically not to play their Game 5 that was scheduled that day, and which followed the rest of the teams boycotting their Game 5 games the next day, which led to pretty much all sports programs being boycotted or going on strike that day. I know Naomi Osaka, she decided to not play the game that she was scheduled to play the next day. So it was a ripple effect for sure. And on the surface level, it seemed dope, because, you finally had the NBA players showing that they weren't going to be using their bodies as a tool, and and not letting this large platform of the NBA take advantage of the spotlight that was being shown around, and or taken away, or rather I would say taking away from everything that's going on in the country with the protests, because as we all know, George Floyd was killed in June, and most recently Jacob Blake was killed in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So that's what led to the Bucks boycotting. However, this strike didn't last long, because the players met up and they decided that they wanted to continue. So all in all, it was a one-off thing. Now, I have conflicting views, because I don't want to take away from the attention that the NBA players brought to all the issues by doing their strike, but at the same time, only going on a strike for one game doesn't seem purposeful. It just seems like it was a grab for attention, and I have a really big issue with black issues being used as headlines, or being used as moments in time where we can just grab people's attention and make it like a thing, like in passing, or like making black issues all shock value, I guess would be the best way to put it, because it's just not cool. Like, it's not dope to me, and that's how I felt initially. But all in all, I want to focus on the positives, and I do feel like most players' heart is in the best place, and I do recognize that they sacrificed a lot to go to Orlando to play. But at the end of the day, Kyrie Irving was right when he said that the players should be held accountable, and should be held accountable for their voices, and should be using them to leverage more power within the league, which I don't think is happening. But all in all, they're still trying to get their points across. So kudos to them. But all in all, I think that the league could do better. But, I don't want to demand too much from anybody, or ask too much of anybody who's not willing to do the work, because it is what it is. But that's pretty much all I'll say on that, because I don't want to get too much into the politics of it. They did what they felt was right, and we move on, and we keep fighting a good fight. Now, so something happened about a day or two ago with Shaun King. Oh, actually, this happened yesterday. So after we all heard about the passing of Chadwick Boseman, Shaun King decides to send out a bunch of emails promoting his book. And in the beginning of these emails, he speaks about the passing of Chadwick Boseman. And I just thought it was really gross and disgusting that he would decide to use the passing of somebody who's an icon just to try to get more sales to his books. Is very tone deaf and insensitive, and I already have reason to believe that this man isn't even a black man, and he's using our struggle to promote whatever agenda that he has, whatever that may be. And I'm just not a fan of him, and I wish that we would stop circulating his social media and stop circulating his rhetoric, because it's demeaning and it's embarrassing. I feel like as a people that we allow him to run around and do things that he does, and that's just my genuine feeling towards him. Not a fan. I've never really been a fan. I've recognized his access to certain issues, and the more that I like study protests and listen to people talk about their loved ones being arrested and shot by the police and things like that, you see certain activists and political leaders and community leaders try to come to the spotlight to use those things to gain notoriety, and that's just not fly. It's not cool. I've never been with that. And he is the type of person that utilizes those types of tools, and that's just not cool. That's not dope. It's not fly. And yeah, that's just all I'll say about that. I don't want to go too deep into it because we don't spend a long time. We don't rant on this podcast. We just talk about issues, and I give my thoughts, and take away with that. Take away what you will from that. And I guess for the last topic of the episode, I'll talk about this whole Joe Budden fiasco. So Joe Budden has recently announced that he's leaving Spotify. And this was a whole huge thing over the internet for the past couple of days, from different personalities and podcasters and radio hosts giving their 2 cents about what's going on with Joe, because he gave the account of what issues occurred himself on his podcast, and everyone took his words and kind of like misconstrued them. And I just want to focus on that for a little bit, because not really on what Joe said, but on the conversation that he's trying to have in general, because I think it's important. So what I took away from this conversation was just that Joe came to Spotify 2 years ago when he got the deal, and he wanted to see how he would be able to gauge the performance of his podcast through a major streaming platform, which is smart. In the time that he was on the platform, he outperformed all the metrics that all the points that he was supposed to hit. Yet the major platform moved the goalpost to say what is successful, what isn't successful. This led to him getting into disputes with them, and them, not getting bonuses or vacation time or gifts and trinkets or whatever. But I'm not here to talk about that. This is what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about ownership. And I'm here to talk about ownership of your digital content. So in these terms and conditions of these platforms that we use to distribute our content, such as Anchor, which is owned by Spotify, you have to be sure of what these people want to do with your content and how they use your content and how you give it away. So I know I just shouted out Anchor, but I'll talk about Anchor for a little bit. So I use Anchor to distribute this podcast, and this is not an ad by any means, because I don't accept any ad money from Anchor, but that's what I used. I'm just being honest and transparent. That's what I use to distribute this podcast. I refuse to take ad money from the platform, because that would mean I'm stepping on my product. I'm making it lesser than what it can be for monetary value. And the issue with this for me is that I haven't had any discussion with any person in real life to discuss what that actual value is, because I place the value on it because I am the creator. And a lot of the times we are sacrificing our hard-earned work that we put so much effort into for monetary value instead of for ownership and for long-term monetary benefit. And that's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on keeping our content within our culture, within our community, so that we can do with it as we please. And that is the conversation that Joe is having. That's the reason why the podcast operates the way it is. And that's the reason why I don't have any ads on my podcast, and why there won't be any ads on my podcast until I'm offered a bag. So if you ever hear me reading off ads, just know that, one, it'll fit the demographic of the people that listen to this. Shout out to y'all, by the way. And know that I'm getting paid handsomely, and I won't be feeling like I'm getting, I was gonna be explicit, but I won't feel like I'm getting cheated out of what is owed to me. But yeah, it is what it is, and that's why the podcast industry is so crazy, because when I go to listen to podcasts now, because I personally love podcasts, that's what brought me to the industry in the first place. Not only producing and hosting, but just the love of listening to them in general. But so many times when I go to listen to the podcast that I've grown to love, the first thing you hear when you turn it on is an ad, and you can't get through the whole experience without listening to an ad. And it's it's mind-blowing because this is still a brand new industry. So how are we all putting out this product that's so stepped on? And the reason for that is because everybody's taking money for their product without actually placing value on it first. And that's very important. We need to place value on our things. We need to place the proper value on our things. We can't let outside influencers tell us what the value of our things are just because that's what they want to give us. We have to make a demand based off of the hard work and effort that we put in to get to the point where they feel like they can even offer that to us in the first place. You know what I mean? It's still a business at the end of the day. I know we're creatives. I know at the end of the day, we're doing it for the love, but we need to be paid. We need to be secure. We need to make sure that we're not getting cheated out of what's owed to us. So if you out there listening, I'm talking to you as a creator. Make sure you have your legal issues situated, your LLC, all of that stuff. Make sure that you're not giving up your time and energy for pennies on a dollar. Make sure that the ads that are on your show fit the demographic of your show. Just make sure that you secure in everything that you do, because that's all we can ask for. And that's the best option that there is, because we as a people, and you know who I mean when I say we, black people, we need to protect our shit, man. Like, come on, like let's just be real. It is what it is. And I've said all that I would like to say on it. Get at me if you want to talk about it any further. And I think that's pretty much it for today. I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. So this has been great. I got everything that I wanted to say off my chest. I feel like we got through this real swiftly. And I'll talk to you guys next week. I'm gonna go and enjoy my birthday and enjoy my birth week, and enjoy life. So this is me signing off. Make sure to send topics, questions, music, and movie suggestions. Follow the podcast on Twitter at VSMikeHistory and on Instagram at VersusMikeHistory. Follow me on Twitter at MikeHistory and follow me on Instagram at LastNameHistory. I'm feeling good, man. I didn't get a new iPhone yet. That's why I didn't have any guests on the podcast this week. But I'm tired of making announcements every week. So I'm just going to get into the content. But yeah, just know that everything's coming. Everything's falling in place. And I got love for y'all. And this shit is on the up and up. So this is me signing off. Peace out.